What if your love turned into your curse? What if the woman you swore to protect became the reason you destroyed your own blood? This is not just a story of love. It's a tale of deadly obsession, broken oaths, and betrayal buried so deep, even the ancestors weep. In Betrayal, one man took an oath. No man would touch his wife and live, not even his own brother. But when secrets rise and blood spills, who truly pays the price? Betrayal was a village woven between red earth, golden sunsets, and whispers carried by the wind. Known for its sacred groves and proud warriors, Betrayal was more than land. It was legacy. Here, men swore on drums and spirits answered through dreams. Women sang under moonlight, and ancestors walked among the living. But even in a place so spiritual, evil found roots where love and jealousy grew too wild. Juma was no ordinary man. Strong like the baobab tree and silent like the night sky. He forged weapons for kings and hoes for farmers. His hands had made tools for war and peace alike. But Juma's greatest creation was not of fire and iron. It was his love for Nia. Nia, with eyes like dark honey and laughter like flowing water, was the heart of Betrayal. She was not just beautiful, she was wise. Daughters were named after her. Songs were sung in her praise. When Juma married her, the village rejoiced. Elders said their union was blessed by Nai, the sky god himself. But love, when worshipped too blindly, becomes something else. It happened during the festival of the harvest moon, the time when spirits are closest and secrets hardest to hide. Juma stood before the sacred baobab, blood of a sacrificial goat dripping from his palms. He raised his voice. By the ancestors, by the gods of fire and forge, I swear, if any man dares to lay hands on my wife, let him taste death by my hand. Let him feel the fury of a husband wronged. Villagers gasped. This was no ordinary vow. This was a blood oath. Even the elders murmured among themselves. It was dangerous to speak such words before the gods. But Juma had seen something that twisted his love into fear. That morning, Juma had returned early from the iron pits. As he neared his hut, he heard laughter, soft, breathless laughter, his wife's, and a man's voice, low, teasing, familiar. He paused. His heart pounded. But when he stepped inside, it was only Nia. Alone, grinding millet. Had he imagined it? Was the heat playing tricks on his mind? She smiled warmly at him. He said nothing. But doubt had already taken root. That night, his dreams were haunted. He saw shadows in his home, faces hidden. His brother Malik laughing with Nia, whispering. Malik, his younger brother, his own blood. He woke up sweating. The next morning he made the oath. Malik was different from Juma. Where Juma was solid and serious, Malik was like the wind, charming, unpredictable. He had left Betrayal years ago to travel the coastal lands. Now he returned, dressed in fine robes, bringing stories of faraway markets, spices and gold coins. The village welcomed him like a lost son. So did Nia. Her eyes lit up when she saw him. They hugged. A little too long for Juma's comfort. That night, Juma watched them from the shadows. He told himself it was nothing. They were family. But his fists clenched on their own. Old Mzi Kanzi, the village seer, called Juma aside one evening. The wind carries fire in its belly, Juma. You have made an oath not even gods can ignore. Be careful your jealousy does not awaken a spirit darker than betrayal. But Juma only nodded. I only protect what is mine. Kanzi shook his head sadly. Love is not a chain, Juma. Even the strongest forge cannot hold a woman's heart against her will. One moonless night, a scream shattered the village silence. A young herder, Kiboko, was found dead near the river. His neck snapped, his body bruised. Rumors spread like wildfire. He was seen laughing with Nia earlier that day. People began to whisper. It's the oath. Juma's oath. But there was no proof. Juma stayed silent. His hammer struck iron harder than ever. Nia cried for the boy. She claimed innocence. But when she asked Juma directly, Did you have anything to do with this? He didn't answer, just looked away. And she knew. The village grew quiet around Juma. Children stopped playing near his hut. Elders stopped inviting him to gatherings. Malik began spending more time with Nia. To comfort her, he claimed. Juma's eyes never stopped watching. One evening he followed them deep into the sacred forest. What he saw that night would shatter the final thread of his sanity. And when morning came, only 2 people returned from the forest. But only one of them was breathing. In the village of Mbail, Juma, a blacksmith feared and respected, swore a blood oath to kill any man who dared touch his wife Nia. When his charming younger brother, Malik, returned and grew close to Nia, Juma's mind spiraled into suspicion. After the mysterious death of a young herder rumored to be too friendly with Nia, Juma grew colder and more distant. Then one night, he followed Malik and Nia into the sacred forest. By morning, only 2 returned. But only one was breathing. The sun rose slowly that morning, golden light creeping over the red hills. A thick fog hugged the earth like a bad omen. Villagers gathered at the edge of the sacred forest. No one dared enter. Then they saw them. Nia emerged first, her clothes torn, her face scratched, her eyes empty. Behind her came Juma, carrying something heavy over his shoulder, wrapped in a blood-stained goatskin. The villagers gasped. It was Malik's body. His neck was twisted at an unnatural angle. His lips frozen in a whisper, as if he had died mid-confession. Juma said nothing. He walked past everyone and dropped the body in front of the elders. He broke my oath. He touched what was not his. Let his soul answer to the ancestors. The elders stared at him in horror. You killed your brother on sacred ground? Asked Mzikanzi, trembling. Juma didn't blink. The forest bore witness. Let it judge me. But the forest had already spoken. And it wanted blood. That night drums echoed from the hills, but no hands played them. Flames danced in cooking pots, even when fires had died. Children cried in their sleep. Goats were found facing east, eyes rolled back. And in the village square, someone had carved a symbol into the dust. A broken heart pierced by a serpent. Mzikanzi gathered the council. The forest spirits are not at peace. Juma's blood oath has awakened a curse we buried centuries ago. He turned to the scrolls written on goatskin parchment. The curse of Ekwu, a tale forgotten by time. Many seasons ago, in the same sacred forest, lived a warrior named Ekwu, who also swore a jealous oath. He vowed that no man would touch his wife, and like Juma, he killed all who tried. But one day his wife confessed. It was Ekwu himself who turned her heart cold, not the other men. Mad with rage, Ekwu killed her too, on sacred land. The ancestors cursed him. His soul was torn into shadows and buried under the roots of the oldest tree in the forest. And they warned, if another man kills in jealousy upon this soil, Ekwu shall rise again. Now it seemed Ekwu had returned through Juma. Since that night, Nia had barely spoken. She moved like a ghost in her own home. She no longer sang while pounding yam. No longer braided the neighbor girl's hair. The women noticed bruises on her arm. Her eyes, once bright, now looked always over her shoulder. One brave girl, Lela, asked her, Nia, what really happened in the forest? Tears welled in Nia's eyes, but she said nothing. Instead, she handed Lela a small leather pouch and whispered, Give this to Mzikanzi. Tell him. The truth is inside. Inside the pouch was a strip of cloth, torn from Malik's robe, and a tiny wooden amulet carved with a serpent's tongue. Kanzi paled. This is the mark of the Ekwu spirit. He has returned, and he wears Juma's skin. That night, the forge where Juma worked burst into flames. No cause, no spark. The villagers formed a line of water buckets, But the fire burned blue and silent. No screams, no crackling, only a humming. In the ashes they found Malik's traveling bag, untouched by flame. Inside a letter. Brother, I loved her, but I never touched her. I only stayed to protect her from you. You are not the man you once were. If you find this, I am likely dead. The village mourned. Not for Malik but for the man Juma used to be. Kanzi called for Nia to speak before the council. First she refused. But under the moonlight, and with the women beside her, she stood. Juma was once kind, once gentle. But the oath changed him. Every man I smiled at, he saw as a threat. I turned to Malik for protection, not love. But Juma did not ask. He only accused. Then he killed. A hush fell over the elders. Kanzi rose. Then we must cleanse the spirit of Ekwu. We must stop the curse. But they were too late. That night, under the blood moon, Juma disappeared. His hut empty. His hammer missing. Only one thing was left. A message carved into the wooden door with a knife. They all touched her. They all must pay. The next morning, the village hunter was found dead. The day after, the healer. And every man who had ever spoken kindly to Nia vanished. Juma had become more than a man. He was now Ekwu reborn. And his oath had become a curse on all of Mbale. The village of Mbale no longer slept. Doors were barred. Candles burned through the night. Mothers clutched their sons, whispering prayers to gods long forgotten. Nia sat alone in her mother's old hut, the pouch of ashes clutched to her chest. Ashes from the sacred forest, burned secretly and wrapped with Malik's last letter. Her heart beat faster than the village drums. In 3 nights, 3 men had vanished. All had spoken to her in kindness before. One had simply complimented her cooking. Another had fetched her water. And now, all were gone. Their huts empty. Bloodstains at the thresholds. Snake skins draped on their doors. Juma had become a phantom of vengeance, twisted by the curse of Ekwu. But his power, it was growing. Each victim bore the same mark on their door. A serpent's tongue, slashed across a bleeding heart. Elders feared what they already knew. Juma was no longer hunting men. He was hunting meaning. His twisted mind no longer cared whether someone had touched Nia, only if they had looked, spoken, or even breathed near her. Mzee Kanzi gathered the council. We must send for a Sangoma, a seer from beyond the Rift Hills. If Ekwu is truly reborn, only an outsider's vision can break the link between Juma and the spirit world. But the Sangoma had already come. And she had seen everything. Her name was Mama Ulani. She arrived wrapped in ash-colored robes, her staff carved from a tree that had never known sunlight. Her eyes were blind. Yet they glowed. When she entered the village square, even the animals went silent. Juma is not possessed, she said calmly. Juma invited Ekwu in. When you make an oath with blood, you do not bind others to it. You bind yourself to madness. She threw black powder into the fire, and a face rose in the flames, twisted skeletal with fangs made of bone. The spirit of jealousy. A hunter who kills his own kin. A monster that feeds not on blood, but on trust broken. To stop him, she whispered. His heart must be willingly broken by the one he swore to protect. All eyes turned to Nia. Mama Ulani called her to the center. You must walk to the sacred forest, she said. And call him. Speak the truth that will shatter him. Not anger, not fear, but the truth you've hidden. Nia fell to her knees. What if he kills me, she whispered. Lani smiled. Then the curse will finally be complete, and the gods will take him forever. The elders begged her to reconsider. But Nia, her heart shattered by Malik's death, by Juma's madness, and by the silence that had swallowed her, nodded. I will go, and I will speak. Let the gods decide what happens next. The next morning Nia dressed in white. A cloth of mourning. She braided her hair, just as she used to when Juma first courted her. She carried no weapon. Only the pouch of ashes, Malik's letter, and the serpent-carved amulet. Mama Ulani gave her final instructions. Do not cry. Do not shout. Speak your truth like thunder speaks before rain. Then Nia walked, alone, toward the forest. Behind her, the village watched with bated breath, knowing they might never see her again. The sacred forest smelled of blood and roots. Trees twisted into one another, as if trying to escape the soil. Shadows flickered even where there was no sun. And deep within, beside the gnarled tree where Malik had died, stood Juma. His shirt was torn, his body covered in blood. His eyes were no longer his own. You came, he growled. Was he worth it? Nia took one step forward. He was your brother. He loved you. He protected me from the monster you became. Juma's eyes flared. Ula. He touched you. I saw it. She held up the letter. He touched me with kindness. Something you forgot how to give. He loved me without owning me. The wind howled. The ground shook. The tree cracked. Juma fell to his knees, clutching his head. No. The oath. I made the oath. The oath, she whispered, was never love. It was control. She dropped the pouch of ashes into the soil and threw the amulet into the roots. You can kill me, but you will never own me again. A scream tore through the forest, not from Juma, but from the tree. The bark split open. From within, a monstrous spirit clawed its way out, shaped like Juma but larger, wilder, face twisted by pain. It was Eku, but he screamed not at Nia, at Juma. You broke the oath. You promised your soul in exchange for vengeance. But now you let her go. Juma collapsed. I didn't know. I didn't mean. There is no undoing, Eku roared. Then, for the first time, Nia stepped between them. She held her hand toward Eku and said, Take me instead. Let him live in guilt. Eku stared, silent. Then slowly, he turned to ash. And Juma screamed, not in rage but in grief. Juma awoke the next day at the edge of the forest. The tree was gone. The spirits quiet. But Nia was nowhere to be found. All that remained was her necklace, wrapped around a single serpent scale. He returned to the village. Not as a hero, not even as a man, but as a widow with blood on his hands. And in the distance, in the mountains beyond the Rift Hills, a new serpent stirred. Because the curse was not broken. It had simply changed form. Months passed in Bale. The killings stopped. The forests grew quiet again. But the people never forgot the blood-soaked months that stole their brothers, sons, and fathers. Juma returned a broken man. He neither spoke nor ate for many days. His once proud posture was replaced by a stoop of shame. The only thing he did each sunrise was kneel before Nia's necklace, wrapped around a serpent scale, and whisper, Forgive me. But forgiveness, like the dead, does not return when called. One morning the sun rose red. Cattle wailed. Crops rotted under a cloudless sky. And then on the third day the eclipse came. A darkness covered the land, though it was midday. It was not natural, the elders said. Felt alive. As the villagers gathered in fear, a scream tore through the silence. Not from the sky, but from the old hut near the edge of the village. Juma ran toward it, the only time he'd moved swiftly in months. Inside he found a woman, unfamiliar, her skin pale as clay, her belly torn open by labor. And in her arms, child, a boy with eyes darker than night. His name is Ease, she whispered with her final breath. He belongs to the storm. Then she died, blood spilling like a river down the hut's floor. Juma tried to leave the child. He laid him outside the village boundary, prayed for the gods to reclaim what they had sent. But every night Ease returned, crawling silent, his black eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. No animals touched him. No insects dared near. His cries sounded more like chanting than weeping. And so Juma kept him. If this is my punishment, he muttered, I will carry it till I return to dust. But Ease was not a punishment. He was a prophecy. One night, as Ease slept without blinking, Mama Ulani returned. She looked older, her face etched with deeper cracks, as though she had seen the end of time and returned from it. She gazed upon Ease and said only this: "You let Ekwu die without a vessel." So the spirit sought a womb, and found one. Juma's face went pale. "You mean he is Ekwu?" She shook her head slowly. "Not yet. But when the blood moon rises again, he will remember everything." He paused at the door. "You can raise him with love. Or with fear. But know this, one wrong betrayal, and the killings will return." Then she vanished into the mist. Ease grew fast. Faster than any child should. By age 5 he spoke in full sentences. By 7 he had the strength of a teenage boy. But he was not unkind. In fact, he adored animals. He helped elders carry water. He played in the dust with other children, though none dared touch him. Except one girl, Luma. She was the daughter of a traveling merchant. She had no fear in her heart. And Ease, who had only known silence and death, smiled when she laughed. Juma watched them closely. He feared it. Because he recognized the glint in Ease's eye. It was the same glint he once had for Nia. One afternoon, Luma's father scolded her for playing with the cursed boy. He dragged her by the arm, shouting loudly in the market square. Ease stood frozen, watching her cry. That night, the merchant's hut caught fire. No one could prove how it started. But when the ashes cooled, villagers found serpent tracks leading to the river. And at the riverbank stood Ease, silent, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "He hurt her," the boy whispered. "Now he can't." Juma grabbed him by the shoulders. "What did you do?" Ease looked confused. "I protected her. Like you protected mother." Juma fell to his knees. "What have I done?" Years passed. Ease became a teenager. Tall, silent, handsome like Juma once was. But his eyes held storms. Then, one morning, as the river mist rolled into the village, a figure in white appeared. She walked barefoot, hair braided, a serpent tattoo on her wrist. Nia. Alive. Not aged a day. When Juma saw her, he collapsed. "I buried you in my heart." She smiled faintly. "Then why does it still beat?" Ease stared at her wide-eyed. "You are my mother." She knelt before him, touched his face. "No. But I am the reason you exist." Then she turned to Juma. "It's time. The storm he carries. It will soon awaken." That night, the wind howled louder than before. Ease stood at the edge of the forest, hearing whispers in a language he never learned. His shadow moved before he did. And from the earth, a hand reached out. The spirit of Ekwu was not dead. It had only been sleeping in the blood, the bone, and now, the boy, Juma's sins had returned in flesh. And the only one who could stop him was the woman he had once sworn to protect, the one who now stood between vengeance and rebirth. Because if the final blood moon rose, the child of the eclipse would become the god of retribution. The red moon bloomed like a wound in the night sky. Goats screamed. The wind carried a scent of ash and old bones. Children cried in their sleep without knowing why. Ease stood at the hill's edge, his body trembling, not in fear but awakening. Inside him something ancient stirred. Voice. Not his. But it spoke through him. "They took what was mine. They touched what I loved. Now they will burn." He clenched his fists. His fingers crackled like lightning. Behind him Juma and Nia stood, side by side once again, not as lovers but as guardians. "He doesn't know what he's becoming," Juma whispered. "No," said Nia. "But we do. He's not just your son. He's your shadow." Ease's eyes turned black as coal. His skin shimmered with serpent scales. Villagers ran in terror. Trees bent away as he walked. The rivers reversed their flow. And from the sky, lightning danced to his heartbeat. From the sacred forest, Mama Ulani returned, walking barefoot through fire. She held the horn of Odiu, the relic used to banish the first serpent spirit centuries ago. "Child," she called, "you are not your father's rage. You are not Eku." Ys turned slowly. "Then what am I?" "You are the choice," she said softly. "To break the chain or to become it." But the spirit had grown strong. It was no longer whispering. Screamed. "Burn them all." Juma stepped forward. He held no weapon, no shield. Just a necklace, the one that once belonged to Nia, still wrapped in serpent scale. "Son," he said, "if you destroy them all, then I never truly loved your mother. I only possessed her." Pause. The wind stilled for a heartbeat. "You lied," Ys said, trembling. "You said I was born of love." "You were," Juma said. "But I betrayed it. And now you carry my curse." He dropped the necklace into the fire between them. "Then let me burn with it." As the flames rose, a figure stepped from the smoke. Ibo, Juma's brother, the first victim. He walked silently without a shadow. "You killed me in jealousy," the ghost said. "But now you offer your life in truth." He turned to Ys. "Will you kill for pain? Or live for peace?" Ys dropped to his knees. The wind died. The serpent spirit screamed one last time. Then dissolved into ash. The skies cleared. The blood moon faded. Ys awoke in Nia's arms, his skin smooth again. His eyes brown with tears. Juma lay still beside the ashes. He had not screamed. He had not fought. He simply gave his life so the curse would end. The village began to heal. The river flowed forward again. The animals returned. Ys planted trees where bodies once lay. Mama Ulani passed quietly one night, smiling in her sleep. Nia remained, not as a woman scorned, but as the mother of mercy in village lore. Ys became a healer, a storyteller, a reminder that darkness does not define us, our choices do. And once every year during the full moon, he would sit by his father's grave and whisper, "You died not as a killer, but as a father who chose love in the end."